watching the pre-fight, and they're kind of vamping. You know, they're waiting because they're trying to get everybody's orders processed there to watch the fight. So they're going around, the place, and Jim Gray, interviewing a lot of people. All of a sudden, Reggie Aloysius shows up with Charles Barkley there ringside, and Reg's breaking it down like he's Al Bernstein. How are you, Reg?
Was I on point or what?
You were.
I told people all along that arguably Mayweather is probably the best defensive fighter that the sport of boxing has ever seen. And people thought because of, I wouldn't say hatred of Manny Pacquiao, but the dislike of everyone comparing Pacquiao to Mayweather, that Mayweather at the start of this fight was going to chase Pacquiao. He was going to go toe-to-toe. That's never been Mayweather's approach to fighting. He's always been a defensive fighter. He's going to take your strengths away, and he's going to recognize throughout the fight what he can and can't get away with, and he's just going to be a technician. And that's if people thought a brawl was going to break out, they were sadly mistaken. They just thought Pacquiao, Mayweather, they don't like one another. Finally, it's happening. It's going to be an all-out fight. No, that's not Floyd Mayweather.
Yeah, I think it's people who aren't boxing fans, Reg, who are upset because if you watch Mayweather, I think he's more there's more entertainment headlines around him as a person than him in the ring, and you're going to tune in to watch somebody play great defense. I like Bruce Bowen, but I'm not going to watch him play defense against you in an NBA playoff game, you know?
It was a classic technical fight by Floyd Mayweather, and the people that are appreciative of the sweet science, that really love boxing and not a fight, they appreciated that performance by Floyd Mayweather. People that were expecting the Fight Club were disappointed, that were casual fans, because it was an event. It was being sold as the event of the century, that were coming to actually watch the fight or, shell down $100 on the pay-per-view. If they were expecting Tyson and Buster Douglas, they were sadly mistaken.
All right, let's get to the parties, though. So what's better, that just pre-fight milling around there ringside or post?
Definitely pre. I think post, because of the letdown and the fight wasn't that great, people scattered, like the lights came on and they were like cockroaches. Everyone was gone. Pre-fight, it was great.
Okay. Who did you hang with?
Showtime/HBO get-together at the MGM. That was cool because that's where everyone came, and everyone was, I've got Pacquiao, I've got Mayweather, and everyone was kind of, everyone had their own, basically little camps of all the stars that were there, I guess.
Okay, who was in the room? Biggest celebrities, though, that you were hanging with?
I'm not a name dropper like you, my friend.
Just this one time.
I'm just going to tell you the one person this is me, that I was excited to meet, just because I am a fan. I love the show Homeland, and I am a huge Claire Danes fan. To me, I was excited to meet her. I'm sorry, I know that's not big enough for you,
no, it's
but
not.
I think she's a great actress. I love Homeland, and I love Claire Danes.
Do you walk up to her, or do you have somebody?
I walked up to her and the creators of Homeland, who I could not tell you their names, but she introduced them as the creators of Homeland. And I, talked to them about the fight, and they were talking about the NBA playoffs, who they liked, who their team was, like that. So I went in first. I approached.
Did you see Jordan?
I did not, but I heard he was there.
Yeah, he was there. Brady.
I never saw him.
Yeah, Brady was there.
Didn't see him.
Paris Hilton.
Didn't see her.
Bobby De Niro.
Didn't see him. See, look.
Man.
I know. What was the use of me going? Saw Jay-Z. Saw Beyonce.
Okay.
Leo.
In person. Okay. How do you do that where you're with Jay-Z and Beyonce, and you're listening to Jay-Z, but you're still out of the corner of your eye looking at Beyonce, right?
Come on, man. No.
Are you kidding me?
No.
She's screaming out. She's screaming out, look at me.
You don't do that, no.
You know what?
That's Jay-Z and that's Beyonce.
You may have hurt her feelings. You may have hurt her feelings.
No, not at all.
She did look great.
I think more guys would be excited to meet Jay-Z than probably her. Now, girls will probably be more excited to meet her than Jay-Z.
Did Barkley finally get a bet right?
I don't know. That's a good question.
Wait, you don't know who he bet on?
I do not know. He likes to keep things like that under wrap. He does.
He always goes the wrong way.
Well, he did not bet on the fight, so I don't know what else he was betting on. Maybe the Derby. I don't know who his horses were, but I know I didn't win in the Derby. That's what I do know. Come on, Frosted.
But you did win on the fight.
I did win. Well, I didn't bet on the fight, but I told people.
Okay.
You couldn't win it. Here, you couldn't win any money on Mayweather anyways. But I told people if you wanted to bet, you would have to bet Pacquiao and crazy things like a knockout.
Yeah.
Like I bet Pacquiao a knockout in the 8th. That wasn't going to happen, but the odds were great. But you couldn't make any money on Mayweather.
What would you think?
If that makes any sense.
Yeah, I agree. That's what I was with Adam Sandler, and he was saying, I can't make any money off Mayweather. You know, how do I bet on Pacquiao? And I didn't know.
You have to bet crazy, like Pacquiao to knock him out in the first round. That was never going to happen. But what happens if he steps on his foot, he twists his ankles, he can't continue anymore? It could. Look, it's highly unlikely, but what happened if it did? It was like 40-1.
He's Reggie Miller, NBA on TNT, joining us from Houston. My Clippers beating the Spurs, and now they got the Rockets.
Oh, here you go. Your Clippers. Here you go.
How good was that Game 7, though?
Well, it was a lot better than the fight, I'll tell you that. And it's unfortunate that we had a series like this in the first round with arguably two of the better teams in the NBA going toe-to-toe in a 7-game series, and unfortunately it happens in the first round.
Chris Paul going to play?
I sure hope so. Look, you can't be that special in a Game 7 and turn around 48 hours later and say, I'm out for Game 1. Look, we know how tough he is. He's a competitor. He literally put this team on his shoulders this whole series. And when you're down 3-2 and to have those type of special performances, people need to understand, in Game 6 in San Antonio, at halftime, he was 0 of 9 with 2 points. And then had that special performance in the second half to catapult them to victory. And then we all saw on one leg what he did in Game 7. So I would be really surprised if he didn't play. Now, will he play great? That remains to be seen. But I would be surprised if he did not play in Game 1 tonight.
They get the MVP, right?
In my eyes, they did. You and I have been talking about this. I will go with the best player on the best team, and in my opinion, that's Steph. I know that people are saying, well, look, he only averaged 23, 24 points. Look, he didn't play in 16 or 17 fourth quarters because his team was dominating, which, in my opinion, his numbers would have been inflated a little bit more. The best player on the best team.
Who was the best player in basketball?
That would probably be LeBron James.
Yeah. It's interesting that the best player is not going to – and LeBron, we got to the point where we said, those are normal numbers for LeBron. Steph Curry was something exciting and new. The same with Anthony Davis, the same with James Harden. And I think that's – the media falls in love with that, whereas LeBron just had a LeBron year. It's
the Jordan fatigue thing because Jordan could have and probably should have won it every year he laced them up. But Barkley got one in the Jordan era. Karl Malone got one in the Jordan era. So I understand sometimes with the media's approach to this because you're like, oh, God, not for LeBron again. We need something fresh and exciting like an Anthony Davis, like a James Harden, and like a Steph Curry who will probably end up being the MVP. But let's give a lot of credit to Harden as well. For him to do what he did on this Houston Rocket team with Dwight Howard being out so many games and the injuries and missing players, he stepped up his whole level of game, not just his offense, but his defense is much better. I think a career high averaging 7 assists. So, look, if James Harden would have been announced MVP, I couldn't have faulted that as well.
Yeah, I agree. I wouldn't have had a problem with that. I think Steph was the best player on the best team. They improved by 16 games in the West. I think,
aren't they fun to watch? They are fun to watch. And some of the things that Steph is doing on the court with the passing. People forget about how good a passer he is. They just think about the threes and the crossovers and making people trip and dribbling and all that. His passing is fantastic.
And I know Greg Popovich is upset after because, you get eliminated final seconds there. But don't tell me about the seeding after the fact. If he's been a big proponent that if you win your division, you should be one of the top 4 seeds, fine. I'm all for that. It's this revisionist history. We need to change that immediately. Look, it's a tough first-round matchup. I get that. But if San Antonio beats New Orleans, they're not facing the Clippers in the first round. And I do believe if you win your division, you should be one of the top 4 seeds. I don't think it should be record. I think it should be that you win your division. We may not like it. The NFL does this. And, Carolina won its division, and they had a home playoff game. We didn't like it, but, there's value to winning your division. So I don't know. I just didn't like the timing of that with Pop.
Well, obviously, emotions run high, especially after a 7-game series. But I will say this for the Spurs. They had two chances to really grab a hold of this series. They could have won up 3-1, but they lost Game 4 at home. You're up 3-2 with a chance to close them out at home, and you lose. So you had your chances, and then it goes to Game 7, and you still have a chance. You were up 5 with, 3 minutes left, and the Clippers came back. So the Spurs had a lot of chances. I'll always love what Pop does and how he manages minutes. Again, Tim Duncan, the petition has started. You cannot retire until you're age 49 now. I've started that petition.
He was unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
I know.
Come on. 39 years old, averaged a double-double. 39. Look, I could barely get out of bed on my last year at 39. And here he is averaging a double-double. Unbelievable.
Are you calling for the Bulls over the Cavaliers?
I am calling for, to me, another 7-game series. Since I'm not on that series, that's Marv and C-Web. They'll have all the predictions. I've got the Rockets and the Clippers, which, in my opinion, will probably be a 6 or 7 game series.
You got the Rockets winning?
I got to see how Chris Paul is moving tonight. It's hard for me to make a prediction until I see how the head of the snake is moving around. If he's slithering, it could be interesting. If he's limited, I don't know. He does so much for this Clippers team. I got to see how he's performing out there.
Over under 35 points for Harden tonight.
Over.
Yeah.
Over.
Should be fun. We'll be watching tonight.
You are the best, my friend. Daniel Theodore and his Danettes. The best show in the land. But people already know that, right? They do know that.
Could you have sung the anthem better than Jamie Foxx did?
You didn't like it?
No.
See, people just think of Jamie as a comedian or as an Oscar-winning actor. He is a singer, too. I thought it was all right. See, here you go again. You're going back to you wanted Beyonce up there singing the national anthem.
I did.
You wanted Bebe up there.
Yes.
Bae. Queen Bye.
I would have taken a duet
Beyonce.
with Jay-Z and Beyonce.
Queen Bye. It's okay. Everyone wanted Queen Bee up there, but I like Jamie Foxx. He was all right.
All right. Don't be just all right tonight. Be great, all right?
I'll be on fire tonight as usual.
All right. Thank you, Reg. He's Reggie Miller.